Look, disasters don't send calendar invites. One day everything's normal, the next you're sitting in the dark wondering why you didn't prepare. So let's skip the fluff and get straight into the 30 items you absolutely need to stockpile before things go sideways. 1. Cash in small bills. Here's something most people never think about until it's too late. When the power goes down, every single digital payment system goes down with it. Credit cards, useless. Debit cards, worthless. ATMs, dead screens. Every transaction in your daily life runs on electricity, and the moment that electricity disappears, your bank account might as well not exist. That's the cold, hard reality. You need physical money, and not hundreds, small bills. 5s, 10s, 20s. The corner store owner isn't going to break a $100 bill during a blackout when he's got limited stock and a line of desperate customers. You need denominations that let you make quick, clean transactions without haggling over change that nobody has. Set a minimum target of $1,000. Keep it somewhere secure in your home, not your wallet, not your car, not a drawer your kids can get into. A fireproof lockbox is ideal. Think of it as insurance you can actually spend. Some folks keep it in a sealed envelope inside their emergency kit. Others spread it across a couple of locations in the house so that if one area gets damaged, they've still got access to funds elsewhere. And here's the thing people miss. Cash doesn't just buy supplies. It buys cooperation. It buys a ride out of town when gas stations are cash only. It buys a hotel room 3 counties over when your house is underwater. During Hurricane Katrina, people with cash moved faster, ate better, and recovered quicker than those who had money sitting in accounts they couldn't touch. Don't be the person standing in line at a dead ATM while someone with a roll of 20s is already loaded up and driving to safety. One more tip: rotate your cash. Don't just stash it and forget it for 5 years. Every 6 months, swap it out. Use the old bills for regular spending and replace them with fresh ones. This keeps your stash current and prevents you from borrowing from it over time, which is a trap almost everyone falls into. The discipline of maintaining that cash reserve is just as important as having it in the first place. There's a psychological component too. When people around you are panicking, cash creates options. Options reduce panic. Having the ability to act, to buy fuel, to purchase a generator from someone selling one, to pay a neighbor with a truck to help you move critical belongings to higher ground. That ability is power in its most literal form. People who study disaster response consistently report that financial liquidity in the first 72 hours after an event is one of the strongest predictors of recovery speed. Be liquid. Be ready. 2. Wool blankets. This one catches people off guard because blankets feel so ordinary. But wool blankets are not ordinary. They are fundamentally different from the synthetic fleece or cotton throws piled on your couch, and the difference could save your life during a prolonged cold weather emergency. Wool retains heat even when it's wet. Read that again. If your house floods, if you're caught in rain during an evacuation, if condensation builds up in a shelter, a wet cotton blanket becomes a cold, heavy liability. A wet wool blanket still keeps you warm. That single property makes wool superior to virtually every other blanket material in a survival context. Beyond warmth, wool is naturally fire-resistant. It doesn't melt onto your skin like synthetic materials do. It chars instead of igniting, which gives you precious extra seconds in a fire scenario. You can use a wool blanket to smother small flames, wrap around yourself while moving through a smoky area, or lay it across the ground as insulation between your body and cold earth. Keep at least 2 wool blankets per person in your household. Store one set in your primary emergency kit and another on an upper floor if you live in a flood-prone zone. The reason for the upper floor is straightforward. If water rises on the ground level, everything stored there is gone. Your emergency supplies need to be above the waterline, and blankets are bulky items you don't want to be hauling upstairs when water is already pouring in. Good wool blankets aren't cheap, but they last decades with minimal care. Military surplus stores carry heavy-duty wool blankets at reasonable prices, and these are built to survive conditions far worse than anything in your living room. Buy them once, store them properly, and they'll be ready whenever you need them. Beyond personal warmth, wool blankets have tactical uses that most people never consider. You can hang one over a doorway to section off a room and concentrate body heat into a smaller space, dramatically improving warmth efficiency in a house without heating. You can lay one in the bed of a truck as padding during an emergency evacuation of injured people. You can roll one up and use it as a pillow, a seat cushion on cold ground, or padding under a sleeping bag. The weight and density of wool also makes it an effective sound dampener if you need to break a window for emergency access. Wrapping your arm in a wool blanket protects your skin from glass while muffling the impact sound. Wool blankets are the definition of multi-purpose gear, and their value in a crisis extends far beyond just keeping warm. 3. Water supply. Water is the single most critical resource in any emergency. You can go weeks without food, but only about 3 days without water before your body starts shutting down. And that timeline gets dramatically shorter if you're exerting yourself, dealing with heat, or already dehydrated when the crisis begins. FEMA's baseline recommendation is 1 gallon per person per day for a minimum of 3 days. That covers drinking and basic sanitation. But let's be real, 3 days is bare minimum survival math. The Red Cross pushes that number to a 2-week supply for sheltering in place, and that's a much more realistic target. Do the math for your household. A family of 4 needs 56 gallons for 2 weeks. That's a lot of water. You're not fitting that in a couple of grocery store cases of bottled water. You need dedicated storage, sturdy 5-gallon containers with tight seals that won't crack, leak, or contaminate your supply. BPA-free food-grade containers are the standard, and they're widely available at camping supply stores. Rotation matters here too. Water doesn't technically expire, but it can develop bacterial growth or absorb chemicals from its container over time. Replace your stored water every 6 months. Mark the date on each container with a permanent marker so there's no guesswork involved. Beyond your home supply, pack a separate 72-hour water supply per person in grab-and-go bags for evacuation scenarios. Water purification tablets and a portable filter are smart additions. They weigh almost nothing and can turn questionable water sources into drinkable water when your stored supply runs out. And don't forget about water for purposes beyond drinking. You'll need water to rehydrate freeze-dried food, clean wounds, wash hands, and maintain basic hygiene. When you factor all of that in, a gallon per person per day starts feeling like the minimum it actually is. Where you store your water is just as important as how much you store. Keep it in a cool, dark area, away from direct sunlight and chemical products like cleaning supplies or gasoline. Sunlight promotes algae growth even in sealed containers, and chemicals can leach through certain plastics over time. A basement shelf, a closet floor, or a dedicated pantry shelf are all solid locations. If you live in an apartment with limited space, underbed storage containers work well. Flat, stackable water bricks are specifically designed for this purpose and maximize floor space that would otherwise go unused. Also consider your building's water infrastructure. If you're in a home with a traditional water heater, that tank holds 40 to 80 gallons of drinkable water. In a grid-down scenario, you can drain that tank through its valve at the bottom. Gravity does the work. It's an emergency water source most homeowners never think about. Just make sure to turn off the power to the water heater first, gas or electric, and open a hot water faucet somewhere in the house to break the vacuum before draining. If you're getting value from this, drop a like, leave a comment, and hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. 4. Non-perishable food. Food storage is where a lot of people either go overboard or barely try at all. The sweet spot is practical, nutritious, and long-lasting. You want a minimum 3-day supply of portable, non-perishable food in your evacuation kit, and a full 2-week supply at home for sheltering in place. Non-perishable means it sits on a shelf at room temperature without spoiling. Canned vegetables, canned meats, canned soups, dried beans, rice, pasta, peanut butter, granola bars, dried fruit, nuts, and freeze-dried meals all qualify. Freeze-dried meal kits have come a long way. Some have shelf lives of 25 years and taste surprisingly decent when reconstituted with hot water. The mistake people make is stockpiling nothing but ramen noodles and canned tuna. Sure, they're cheap and they last, but surviving on sodium-loaded, nutritionally hollow food for 2 weeks will tank your energy, your mood, and your immune system at precisely the time you need all three functioning at peak capacity. Variety matters. Calories matter. Protein, fats, vitamins, and fiber all matter. Build your food supply the same way you'd stock a pantry. Balanced meals, not just filler. Include comfort foods too. A jar of Nutella or a bag of hard candy costs almost nothing, takes up minimal space, and can be a massive morale booster when your family has been sitting in a dark house for 4 days straight. Never underestimate the psychological power of a small treat during a terrible situation. Check expiration dates every 3 months. Use the oldest items first and replace them. This is called the rotation method, and it prevents waste while keeping your supply perpetually fresh. Store everything in a cool, dry location, away from direct sunlight, and keep it elevated off the floor in case of minor water intrusion. One more consideration: manual can openers. If your entire food supply is canned goods and your only can opener is electric, you've got a problem. Keep at least 2 manual can openers in your emergency kit. They cost a couple of dollars and they never need batteries. Think about dietary restrictions and allergies within your household. If someone is gluten-free, diabetic, or has a nut allergy, your emergency food supply needs to accommodate that. The stress of a crisis doesn't suspend food allergies, and an allergic reaction during a disaster when hospitals are overwhelmed is a life-threatening emergency on top of an existing emergency. Label your food storage clearly and include a written list of each family member's dietary restrictions and allergies right inside the food storage area. Also factor in morale foods for children specifically. Kids deal with emergencies differently than adults. Their routines are shattered, they're scared, and familiar comforts disappear. Stocking their favorite shelf-stable snacks, fruit snacks, crackers, juice boxes, individually wrapped cookies, provides a small anchor of normalcy that makes managing a frightened child significantly easier. It's not about nutrition in those moments. It's about calming a terrified 6-year-old enough to keep moving through the plan. 5. Flashlights. When the lights go out, everything becomes harder. Moving through your house safely, finding supplies, checking on family members, assessing damage, all of it requires light. A reliable flashlight isn't optional in an emergency kit. It's foundational. Handheld LED flashlights are the standard, and modern ones are remarkably powerful. Look for models with at least 300 lumens of output, multiple brightness settings, and a strobe mode. The strobe function isn't a gimmick. It's a signaling tool. If you're trapped, injured, or trying to flag down rescue personnel at night, a strobing flashlight is visible from much farther away than a steady beam. Headlamps deserve their own mention because they free up both your hands. When you're cooking on a camp stove, treating a wound, repairing a broken window, or packing an evacuation bag in the dark, having light that follows your line of sight without occupying a hand is incredibly practical. Invest in at least 2 headlamps for your household. Durability is non-negotiable. Your flashlight needs to survive being dropped, getting wet, and operating in extreme temperatures. Look for IPX4 water resistance at minimum, and aluminum or reinforced polymer construction. Cheap plastic flashlights from the dollar store will fail exactly when you need them most. Keep 1 flashlight in your emergency kit, 1 in your bedroom, 1 in your car, and 1 near your home's main entrance. When a crisis hits at 2 a.m., you're not going to want to navigate through the house to find a single flashlight stored somewhere in the garage. Strategic placement means light is always within arm's reach, no matter where you are when things go dark. Battery-powered lanterns are another excellent addition. While flashlights throw a directional beam, lanterns cast 360-degree ambient light that illuminates an entire room. If you're sheltering in place with your family, a lantern on the kitchen table transforms a dark, disorienting house into a functional living space. LED lanterns are energy efficient, run on standard batteries, and many models offer adjustable brightness, so you can conserve battery life during overnight hours when you only need a low glow. Glow sticks deserve a mention here too. They're cheap, disposable, require no batteries, produce no heat, and are inherently safe around children. Snap one and hang it in a hallway or bathroom for ambient light that lasts 8 to 12 hours. Stock a dozen glow sticks in your kit. They're practically free, weigh nothing, and give you light options that involve zero technology and zero risk of failure. 6. Hand crank emergency radio. Most people have never owned one of these, and that's a massive gap in their preparedness. A hand crank radio is one of the most versatile and underrated pieces of emergency equipment available, and quality models cost between $30 and $50. The core function is obvious: radio reception. When the internet is down, cell towers are overloaded, and television is off, your NOAA weather radio is quite possibly the only source of real-time information about what's happening around you. Emergency broadcasts will tell you whether to shelter in place or evacuate, where relief stations are being set up, which roads are passable, and when utilities are expected to return. That information can literally determine whether you make good decisions or dangerous ones. But the hand crank radio does more than receive broadcasts. Most modern models include a built-in LED flashlight, a USB charging port for your phone, and the ability to run on solar power, rechargeable batteries, or the hand crank itself. That's 4 power sources in a single device. When every other gadget in your house is dead, this thing keeps working because you can generate its power with your own arm. Some models also include an SOS siren, a loud, piercing alarm that can attract rescuers if you're trapped or injured. For a device the size of a paperback book, the functionality you get is remarkable. Store it in your main emergency kit with the batteries removed to prevent corrosion, and test it every few months. Familiarize yourself with the tuning dial and preset channels before an emergency, because fumbling with an unfamiliar device in a dark, stressful situation is a recipe for frustration. If this is helpful so far, take a second to like, comment, and subscribe. Let's keep going. 7. Extra batteries. Every battery-powered device in your emergency kit is only as good as the batteries feeding it. Flashlights, radios, lanterns, portable fans, smoke detectors, they all run on stored power, and that power runs out, often faster than you'd expect, when devices are running continuously during an extended outage. The smart approach is standardization. Look at every battery-operated device in your kit and try to consolidate them to use the same battery type. If your flashlight runs on day A, your radio runs on AAA, and your lantern runs on D cells, you're managing 3 different battery inventories. Consolidate where possible. AA batteries are the most common and widely available, so they make a good default standard. Stock more than you think you need. A good rule is to have enough batteries to power every device in your kit for at least 2 full cycles. If your flashlight burns through a set of batteries in 20 hours of use, you want at least 3 sets of batteries for that flashlight alone. Storage matters. Batteries should be kept in their original packaging or in a dedicated waterproof container, stored at room temperature away from metal objects that could cause short circuits. Extreme heat degrades battery life, so the garage in summer isn't ideal. A closet shelf inside your climate-controlled living space is much better. Keep them elevated. High shelf, sealed container. If flooding hits your home, batteries sitting on the floor of your basement are gone. Alkaline batteries have a shelf life of 5 to 10 years, depending on the brand, so rotation isn't as urgent as food or water, but it still matters. Check expiration dates annually and replace anything within a year of expiring. Rechargeable batteries paired with a small solar charger are worth considering as a supplement to your disposable battery supply. They cost more upfront, but provide indefinite power generation when paired with sunlight, a significant advantage in any prolonged grid-down scenario. 8. First aid kit injuries during emergencies are incredibly common. Broken glass from blown-out windows, cuts from debris, burns from improvised cooking, twisted ankles from navigating in the dark, insect bites, allergic reactions, the list goes on. A well-stocked first aid kit handles the minor stuff, so it doesn't become major stuff. Don't overthink this. Buy a pre-assembled general first aid kit from a reputable brand as your starting point. These typically include adhesive bandages in various sizes, sterile gauze pads, medical tape, antiseptic wipes, antibiotic ointment, tweezers, scissors, and an emergency blanket. That covers the basics for most minor injuries. Then customize it. Add items specific to your household's needs. If someone in your family has severe allergies, include extra epinephrine auto-injectors. If someone takes daily medication, pack a 7-day supply minimum, the Red Cross recommendation. If you have young children, include pediatric dosages of pain relievers and fever reducers. If anyone wears contact lenses, pack backup glasses and saline solution. Over-the-counter medications belong in your kit too. Ibuprofen, acetaminophen, antihistamines, antidiarrheal medication, antacids, and electrolyte packets. These treat the most common complaints that arise during stressful, uncomfortable shelter-in-place situations. Melatonin is a worthwhile addition. Sleep becomes difficult during emergencies, and poor sleep compounds every other problem you're dealing with. Keep 2 kits. One stays in your main emergency supply. The second stays in a central, easily accessible location in your home. A hallway closet, a kitchen cabinet, wherever your family naturally gravitates. During daily life, that second kit handles the normal scrapes and headaches. During an emergency, you've got redundancy. Be proactive with prescription refills. If meteorologists are forecasting a hurricane or severe winter storm, call your pharmacy immediately and refill everything. Don't wait until the day before the storm when pharmacies are either swamped or already closed. Get ahead of it by a week, and you'll never find yourself rationing critical medication during a crisis. A tourniquet is a worthwhile addition if you're willing to learn how to use one. Severe bleeding from a limb injury, broken glass, power tool accident, structural collapse can be fatal within minutes. A commercial tourniquet like a CAT, Combat Application Tourniquet, costs about $30, and is proven to save lives in field conditions. Take 30 minutes to watch a reputable instructional video on proper application. The knowledge and the tool together cost less than a dinner out and could prevent a death. Sunscreen and insect repellent also belong in your medical and health supplies. If you're spending extended time outdoors during a summer emergency, evacuating on foot, setting up shelter, assessing property damage, sunburn and insect bites are going to compound your discomfort and potentially introduce secondary health issues. Mosquitoes in particular become a major nuisance after flooding events, and mosquito-borne illnesses are a real concern in many regions. Toss in a bottle of SPF 50 and a can of bug spray. They take up almost no space and prevent problems you don't have the bandwidth to deal with during a crisis. 9. Sanitation and hygiene supplies. This category is wildly underestimated in most emergency guides, and it becomes painfully obvious once you're 3 days into a shelter-in-place situation with limited running water. Hygiene isn't a luxury during a disaster, it's a health necessity. Poor sanitation leads to illness, and illness during an emergency when medical resources are stretched thin is a genuinely dangerous situation. Start with the basics: toilet paper, paper towels, wet wipes, hand sanitizer, soap, trash bags, and feminine hygiene products. These are the consumables that disappear fast when multiple people are sheltering together, and they're nearly impossible to improvise. Expand beyond the basics. Extra toothbrushes and toothpaste, deodorant, shampoo, a comb or brush, and lip balm. These seem trivial until you're on day 5 of an emergency, and basic personal care becomes the thin line between maintaining your mental composure and completely falling apart. The psychological comfort of brushing your teeth and washing your face should not be dismissed. If water service is disrupted, you need a plan for human waste. Heavy-duty garbage bags, a 5-gallon bucket with a snap-on toilet seat lid, and cat litter or sawdust for odor absorption create a functional emergency toilet that can be used indoors for days if necessary. It's not glamorous, but it's essential. Here's the best part about sanitation supplies. They're cheap and they last forever. A trip to any discount store can get you started for under $20. Toilet paper, toothbrushes, soap, and wet wipes have shelf lives of 5 years or longer with proper storage. There's zero excuse not to have a deep stockpile of these items. Buy a little extra every time you shop and add it to your kit. Within a few months, you'll have a robust hygiene supply without ever making a single large purchase. Like, comment, and subscribe if you're still with me. There's a lot more ground to cover. 10. Essential documents. Surviving the emergency is only half the battle. The other half is navigating the aftermath. Insurance claims, identity verification, medical records, property ownership disputes. Without documentation, the recovery process becomes exponentially harder, slower, and more expensive. Gather copies of everything critical: birth certificates, marriage certificates, social security cards, passports, driver's licenses, insurance policies, home, auto, health, life, property deeds, vehicle titles, mortgage documents, medical records, prescription lists, and bank account information. If it proves who you are, what you own, or what you're covered for, it belongs in this collection. Physical copies go into a heavy-duty waterproof bag. Large Ziploc bags work for basic protection, but a dedicated waterproof document pouch is better. That pouch then goes into a fireproof safe or lockbox. This gives you protection against water damage and fire damage simultaneously, which covers the 2 most common document-destroying scenarios in natural disasters. Digital backups are your second layer. Scan or photograph every document and store them on an encrypted USB drive. Keep that USB drive in your fireproof container alongside the physical copies. Additionally, upload copies to a secure cloud storage service that you can access from any device with internet access. This way, even if your home and everything in it is completely destroyed, your documents survive in the cloud. Update this collection at least once a year. Insurance policies change, prescriptions get modified, family circumstances evolve. An outdated document file is better than nothing, but a current one eliminates delays and complications during the claims and recovery process. One thing people never think about: take a video walkthrough of your entire home and all your possessions before any disaster happens. Open every cabinet, every closet, every drawer. Pan across every room showing furniture, electronics, artwork, appliances, clothing collections, jewelry, tools. This video serves as irrefutable documentation for insurance claims. Store it on the same encrypted USB drive and cloud backup as your other documents. Insurance adjusters deal with disputes every day about what was in a home before damage occurred. A time-stamped video eliminates that dispute entirely and can mean the difference between a partial settlement and a full payout. It takes 20 minutes to film and could be worth tens of thousands of dollars. 11. Extra cell phone chargers. Your smartphone is arguably your most important communication and information tool during an emergency. It connects you to emergency services, family members, real-time weather updates, evacuation route maps, and news about the developing situation. When your phone dies, you lose all of that simultaneously. A standard wall charger is useless when there's no electricity, so you need alternatives. A portable battery charger, commonly called a power bank, is the first line of defense. Invest in a high-capacity model with at least 20,000 milliamp-hours. That's enough juice to fully charge most smartphones 4 to 5 times, which could keep your phone operational for a week or more if you use it conservatively. Solar-powered chargers are the next tier. They're completely independent of the power grid and will generate electricity as long as there's daylight. Modern portable solar panels fold up to the size of a notebook and can charge a phone in a few hours of direct sunlight. They're not fast, but they're unlimited, and that matters enormously in a prolonged outage. Keep a charging cable for every type of device in your household. USB-C, Lightning, micro USB, whatever your family uses. Store extra cables in your emergency kit because cables break, get lost, and degrade over time. Having a backup cable is a tiny investment that prevents a massive problem. Car chargers are another critical backup. Even if your home has no power, your vehicle's battery can charge your phone. Keep a 12-volt car charger adapter in every vehicle, along with the appropriate cable. Just be mindful of running your car battery down. Run the engine for 15 to 20 minutes while charging to keep the car battery healthy. 12. Emergency contact list. Here's what happens during a real emergency. You can't remember phone numbers. Your hands are shaking, your mind is racing, and the contact list on your phone is useless because your phone is dead or damaged. This is why a physical, printed list of emergency contacts is non-negotiable. Include everything: local police non-emergency line, fire department, nearest hospital, your family doctor, your insurance agent, utility companies, gas, electric, water, your employer, your children's school, and the phone numbers of at least 5 family members or close friends who live outside your immediate area. Out-of-area contacts are critical because local phone lines often become overloaded during regional disasters, but long-distance calls may still connect. Also include your family's designated meeting point, a physical address where everyone knows to go if you get separated and can't communicate by phone. This should be a location outside your immediate neighborhood, in case your area is evacuated or inaccessible. Print multiple copies. Put one in your emergency kit, one in each vehicle, one in your wallet, and give one to a trusted friend or family member who lives elsewhere. Laminate them, or slip them into plastic sleeves for water resistance. This takes 15 minutes to put together, and could be the most important piece of paper in your household during a crisis. There's no app that replaces it, and no technology that makes it obsolete. 13. Power banks. We touched on these briefly with phone chargers, but power banks deserve their own dedicated spot because they serve far more than just your phone. Portable battery packs can charge tablets, Bluetooth speakers, GPS devices, rechargeable flashlights, rechargeable fans, and medical devices like CPAP machines, with the right adapters and capacity. For emergency purposes, capacity is king. A 10,000 milliamp-hour power bank is fine for daily life, but in a disaster scenario, you want 20,000 milliamp hours or higher. Some high-capacity portable power stations, essentially large battery packs, offer 100,000 milliamp hours or more and can power small appliances like mini fridges, CPAP machines, or even electric blankets for limited periods. These are a bigger investment, usually a couple $100s, but they bridge the gap between a basic power bank and a full generator. Maintenance is simple but essential. Charge your power banks fully every 3 months, even if you haven't used them. Lithium-ion batteries slowly lose charge over time, and a power bank that's been sitting uncharged for 2 years might be at 20% or completely dead when you grab it during an emergency. Set a recurring reminder on your phone to check and top off all power banks quarterly. Store them at room temperature. Extreme heat accelerates battery degradation, and extreme cold reduces output capacity. Your climate-controlled living space is the best storage location, and your fireproof, waterproof container is the ideal home within that space. Smash that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe. We're not even halfway through. 14. Local maps. GPS and smartphone maps are fantastic when they work. They don't work when cell towers are down, when your phone is dead, or when internet infrastructure has been damaged. In those situations, which are precisely the situations we're preparing for, a paper map is the only navigation tool that functions with zero technology dependency. Get road maps for your county and surrounding counties. Get a state highway map. If you live near mountains, coastlines, or wilderness areas, get topographical maps that show elevation, water sources, and terrain features. These details matter during evacuations, when main roads might be blocked and you need alternative routes through unfamiliar territory. Mark your maps in advance. Highlight your primary evacuation route in one color, your secondary route in another, and your tertiary route in a third. Mark the locations of hospitals, fire stations, shelters, gas stations, and your pre-designated family meeting point. When you're stressed and driving through chaos, you don't want to be squinting at an unmarked map trying to figure out which road goes where. Store your maps in a waterproof document bag within your emergency kit. Fold them so your local area is immediately visible when you open them. You don't want to wrestle with a giant unfolded map while sitting in a packed car during an evacuation. Update your maps every 2 to 3 years. Roads change, new highways open, old bridges close. An outdated map can send you down a route that no longer exists, which is worse than having no map at all because it wastes time and fuel. 15. Multi-tool. A quality multi-tool compresses an entire toolbox into an object the size of your palm. Pliers, wire cutters, multiple screwdriver heads, a knife blade, a saw blade, a file, a bottle opener, and scissors, all folded into a single unit that clips to your belt or slips into your pocket. During an emergency, the situations requiring tools are constant and unpredictable. Cutting rope to secure a tarp over a broken window, using pliers to turn off a gas valve, prying open a jammed door, cutting seatbelts in a vehicle accident, opening cans when your can opener is buried under debris, tightening a loose bolt on a generator. The scenarios are endless, and each one is made dramatically easier with a multi-tool on hand. Invest in quality. Cheap multi-tools use soft steel that dulls quickly, hinges that loosen, and locking mechanisms that fail. A well-made multi-tool from a reputable manufacturer will last 20 years or more and maintain its edge and function through heavy use. Expect to spend $40 to $80 for a tool that will genuinely perform when it matters. Buy two. One stays in your emergency kit at home. The other lives permanently in your vehicle. The one in your car will see far more use in daily life, and that's fine. Every time you use it to open a package, fix a loose screw, or cut zip ties, you're also staying familiar with the tool so that operating it under stress becomes second nature. Familiarize yourself with every function before you need any of them. Pull each tool out, fold it back in, learn the locking mechanisms. Some multi-tools have features people never discover until they read the manual. Bottle openers hidden behind screwdriver heads, wire crimpers built into the plier jaws, tiny saws that fold out from unexpected slots. Knowing your tool inside and out means you'll reach for the right function instantly when pressure is high and time is short. 16. Fire extinguisher fires. During emergencies are disturbingly common. People use candles during power outages and accidentally ignite curtains. Improvised cooking methods, camp stoves, grills used indoors, open flames, cause fires. Down power lines spark structure fires. Gas leaks ignite. Post-earthquake fires ravaged more of San Francisco in 1906 than the quake itself. A residential fire extinguisher rated ABC covers the 3 most common fire types: ordinary combustibles like wood and paper, flammable liquids like gasoline and cooking oil, and electrical fires. 1 extinguisher per floor is the minimum. Keep one in the kitchen, one near the garage, and one wherever your emergency supplies are stored. Know how to use it before you need it. The pass method. Pull the pin, aim at the base of the fire, squeeze the handle, sweep side to side. Takes 30 seconds to learn and could prevent your house from burning down. Practice the motion without actually discharging the extinguisher, so the steps are committed to muscle memory. Check the pressure gauge monthly. If the needle has dropped into the red zone, the extinguisher needs recharging or replacing. Most residential extinguishers have a lifespan of 5 to 12 years. Mark the purchase date on the canister with a permanent marker and replace it before it expires. Teach every adult and teenager in your household how to operate the extinguisher. Better yet, many local fire departments offer free hands-on training events where you can actually practice discharging an extinguisher on a controlled fire. There's a meaningful difference between reading instructions on a label and physically going through the motions with a real extinguisher shooting real retardant at real flames. That muscle memory, pulling the pin under stress, aiming correctly, squeezing with the right pressure, eliminates hesitation at exactly the moment when hesitation lets a small kitchen fire become a house fire. Keep the area around each extinguisher clear. An extinguisher buried behind boxes in a closet or wedged behind the water heater is functionally useless during the frantic first minute of a fire when every second determines whether you contain it or evacuate. Mount them on the wall at accessible height with the provided bracket, visible, unobstructed, and grabbable in one motion. 17. Portable water filtration system. Your stored water supply is finite. Even a generous 2-week supply will eventually run out if the crisis extends beyond your planning window. At that point, your ability to produce clean drinking water from available sources becomes the single most important survival skill and tool you possess. Portable water filters come in several forms. Pump filters are the most common for camping and survival applications. You submerge one end in a water source, pump the handle, and clean water comes out the other end. Gravity filters use bags suspended at height to pull water through a filter element without manual effort. Straw filters let you drink directly from a stream, puddle, or container of untreated water. Each has trade-offs in speed, capacity, and convenience. For home emergency preparedness, a gravity filter is arguably the best option. It requires no pumping, processes large volumes of water, and can sit on a countertop filtering water while you attend to other tasks. Quality gravity filter systems can process thousands of gallons before the filter element needs replacing. Water purification tablets are the ultralight backup. They weigh almost nothing, cost a few dollars, and can treat water when your filter is unavailable or damaged. They take 30 minutes to work and leave a mild chemical taste, but they kill bacteria, viruses, and parasites reliably. Keep a bottle of purification tablets in every emergency kit and every vehicle. Boiling is the oldest and simplest purification method. A rolling boil for 1 full minute kills virtually all pathogens. If you have fuel, a pot, and a heat source, you can make safe drinking water. It's slow and fuel-intensive, but it works without any specialized equipment. Quick reminder, like, comment, subscribe. It helps more than you think. 18. Duct tape. This might seem like a joke entry on the list. It is not. Duct tape is one of the most versatile tools in existence, and in an emergency scenario, its applications are nearly limitless. Seal a cracked window, patch a torn tarp, splint a broken finger, repair a leaking pipe temporarily, secure bandages when you're out of medical tape, bind gear to your backpack, mark trails during an evacuation through unfamiliar terrain, create a clothesline, repair torn clothing, seal gaps around doors and windows to keep out smoke, dust, or insects. The military has used duct tape for decades for field repairs on everything from equipment to vehicles to temporary shelters. Astronauts famously used duct tape to jury-rig a carbon dioxide filter on Apollo 1350. If it's good enough for NASA, it's good enough for your emergency kit. Keep at least 2 full rolls in your supplies. 1 in your main kit at home, 1 in your vehicle. Buy quality tape. The cheap stuff from the dollar store has weak adhesive and tears unevenly. Gorilla Tape or a similar heavy-duty brand costs a few dollars more and performs dramatically better. Store it in a dry location, as prolonged moisture exposure can degrade the adhesive over time. 19. Tarps and plastic sheeting. When a storm rips shingles off your roof, blows out a window, or creates any kind of breach in your home's envelope, a tarp is what stands between your interior and the elements. Tarps provide immediate, temporary weatherproofing that can protect your home, belongings, and family until permanent repairs are possible. Heavy-duty polyethylene tarps in the 8x10 or 10x12 foot range are the most practical sizes for residential use. Get at least 2, 1 for covering damaged roof sections or windows, and 1 as ground cover for outdoor shelter-in-place situations. A tarp laid on the ground under a sleeping bag or tent prevents moisture wicking from the earth into your bedding, which makes a huge difference in comfort and warmth. Plastic sheeting, the thicker kind sold in rolls at hardware stores, has different applications. You can use it to seal doorways and windows if there's a chemical spill or airborne contaminant in your area. This is called sheltering in place for air quality, and FEMA recommends it for certain industrial accidents and hazardous material releases. Pre-cut sheets to fit your windows and doors, label them, and store them rolled in your emergency kit with duct tape for sealing. Tarps also make improvised rain catchment systems. If your water supply runs low, a tarp angled into a clean container can collect rainwater that you then filter and purify. It's not efficient, but in a prolonged crisis, every gallon counts. Grommets are important. Buy tarps with reinforced metal grommets along the edges. These are the attachment points where you'll thread rope, bungee cords, or zip ties to secure the tarp in place. Tarps without grommets are difficult to anchor and will blow away in the first gust of wind, which defeats the entire purpose. Carry a handful of extra bungee cords and nylon rope specifically for tarp deployment. You can also use duct tape and paracord together to create improvised attachment points on tarps that lack sufficient grommets. But pre-grommeted tarps are always preferable. Color matters for certain uses. A bright orange or blue tarp on your roof signals to rescue helicopters and relief teams that your home has sustained damage and needs attention. A green or tan tarp blends into the environment if you're setting up a discreet outdoor shelter. Think about which application matters more for your situation when choosing colors. 20. Whistle. A whistle is small, light, costs almost nothing, and could save your life. If you're trapped under debris, buried in a collapse, or stranded in a location where you can't be seen, your voice will give out long before a rescue team reaches you. Shouting is exhausting, and your calls become weaker over time. A whistle produces a piercing sound that carries farther than the human voice, requires almost no energy to use, and can be sustained for hours. Every member of your household should have a whistle attached to their emergency kit, their keychain, or their person during a crisis. The international distress signal is 3 short blasts, repeated at intervals. Teach this to everyone in your family, including children. P-less whistles are the best choice because they work when wet and don't jam in cold weather. They produce a consistent, high-decibel tone that cuts through ambient noise. Attach one to each emergency bag with a lanyard and forget about it until the day you need it, which you will desperately hope never comes, but which you will be profoundly grateful for if it does. 21. Heavy-duty work gloves. After any disaster involving structural damage, earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes, severe storms, your environment becomes a minefield of hazards. Broken glass, splintered wood, twisted metal, exposed nails, hot surfaces, and chemical spills are everywhere. Your bare hands are incredibly vulnerable. A pair of heavy-duty leather or synthetic work gloves protects your hands from cuts, punctures, burns, and abrasion, while you clear debris, board up windows, handle wreckage, or perform repairs. An injury to your hands during an emergency is especially debilitating because you need your hands for virtually every survival task. A deep cut on your palm when medical facilities are overwhelmed or inaccessible is a serious problem that a $5 pair of gloves would have prevented. Include 1 pair per adult in your emergency kit. Make sure they fit properly. Gloves that are too large reduce grip and dexterity, while gloves that are too tight restrict movement and cause fatigue. Try them on before storing them. Like, comment, subscribe. You know the drill. Let's keep moving. 22. Portable cooking stove and fuel. When the power goes out and the gas lines are shut off, your kitchen becomes a room full of appliances that don't work. But you still need to eat, and ideally you want warm food, both for nutrition and for the substantial morale boost that a hot meal provides during a miserable situation. A portable camping stove solves this problem. Butane single-burner stoves are the simplest option. They're compact, inexpensive, run on cheap fuel canisters, and produce enough heat to boil water and cook basic meals. Propane stoves are more powerful, and the fuel is widely available, but the canisters are bulkier. Alcohol stoves are ultra-light and use denatured alcohol as fuel, which is easy to find and store. Whichever type you choose, store enough fuel canisters to run the stove for at least 30 hours of cooking time. Do the math based on your stove's fuel consumption rate and buy accordingly. Rotate your fuel supply annually. Butane and propane canisters have long shelf lives, but checking them periodically ensures nothing has leaked or corroded. Critical safety note: never use a camping stove, charcoal grill, or propane heater indoors or in an enclosed space. Carbon monoxide is colorless, odorless, and kills in minutes. Cook outdoors, on a covered porch, or in a well-ventilated garage with the door fully open. No exceptions. Keep a lighter, waterproof matches, and a ferro rod in your emergency kit alongside the stove. Redundant fire-starting methods ensure you can always get your stove lit, even if one method fails. Don't overlook cookware. A single stainless steel pot with a lid handles 90% of emergency cooking. Boiling water, heating canned food, making soup or oatmeal, rehydrating freeze-dried meals. Add a basic metal utensil set. fork, spoon, spatula, and a couple of enamel or metal plates that won't break if dropped. Avoid glass or ceramic cookware in your emergency kit. It shatters, and broken glass during a crisis is a hazard you created for yourself. Consider learning a few no-recipe meals that can be made with shelf-stable ingredients and a single pot. Rice and canned beans, pasta with jarred sauce, oatmeal with dried fruit and peanut butter, ramen upgraded with a canned protein. None of these require culinary skill. All of them provide meaningful nutrition and calories, and the simple act of preparing and eating a warm meal together is one of the most stabilizing rituals a family can maintain during a chaotic situation. 23. Clothing and sturdy footwear pack. A complete change of weather-appropriate clothing for each family member in your emergency kit. This sounds basic, but imagine being forced to evacuate at 3 a.m. during a flood while wearing pajamas and no shoes. Or sheltering for days in a cold house without access to your wardrobe because the second floor is inaccessible, or your closet is buried under a collapsed wall. Each person's clothing bag should include underwear, socks, wool preferred for warmth and moisture management, long pants, a long-sleeved shirt, a warm layer like a fleece or hoodie, a rain jacket, a hat, and sturdy closed-toe shoes or boots. Boots with ankle support are ideal if you anticipate walking through debris, mud, or rough terrain during an evacuation. Update these clothing bags seasonally. The shorts and t-shirt packed in June won't serve you well during a January ice storm. Swap the contents every 6 months to match the current season's climate demands. Don't forget about protective eyewear. A pair of safety glasses or goggles protects your eyes from dust, debris, and airborne particles that are common after structural collapses, fires, and severe storms. They're compact, cheap, and prevent an injury that would significantly impair your ability to navigate and function during a crisis. 24. Sleeping bags or emergency bivvies. If your heating system fails during a winter emergency, indoor temperatures can drop rapidly, especially in poorly insulated homes. Within 24 hours of a heating failure during a severe cold snap, interior temperatures can approach outdoor temperatures. Sleeping in a cold house without proper insulation can lead to hypothermia, and hypothermia can kill. A cold weather sleeping bag rated to at least 20 degrees Fahrenheit provides a cocoon of insulation that retains your body heat regardless of ambient temperature. Combined with the wool blankets already on this list, a quality sleeping bag lets you sleep safely and comfortably in conditions that would otherwise be dangerous. Emergency bivy sacks are the ultralight alternative. These are essentially large bags made of reflective mylar material that trap your body heat and weigh just a few ounces. They're not comfortable for extended use, but they're incredibly compact, cost under $10, and can prevent hypothermia in a pinch. Pack one in every vehicle and every evacuation bag as a backup. For families, consider the logistics. If you have 4 people, you need 4 sleeping bags, and that's a lot of bulk. Compression sacks can reduce the packed volume significantly. Store them in a dry location and air them out annually to prevent mildew. A useful cold weather strategy that doesn't cost anything extra is the layering principle. A sleeping bag inside a bivy sack, wrapped in a wool blanket, on top of a tarp or foam pad that insulates from the ground, that combination creates a sleep system that's survivable in seriously cold conditions. Each layer adds insulation, and the cumulative effect is far greater than any single item alone. The ground insulation layer is the one most people skip, and it's arguably the most important. Cold ground will suck heat from your body faster than cold air will. A simple foam camping pad, or even a layer of cardboard between your sleeping bag and the floor, makes a substantial difference in warmth retention overnight. 25 paracord or rope paracord, military-grade nylon rope originally used in parachute suspension lines, is one of the most useful general-purpose tools you can stockpile. A 100-foot hank of 550 paracord costs about $10, weighs barely anything, and has a tensile strength of 550 pounds. Use it to build shelter by lashing tarps to trees, poles, or structures. Use it as a clothesline to dry wet garments. Create a perimeter tripwire alarm around your campsite. Lash gear to a vehicle or pack frame. Rig a pulley system to lift heavy objects. Make a tourniquet in a medical emergency. Replace broken shoelaces. Secure a splint. Create a makeshift leash for a pet during evacuation. The applications are genuinely endless. The inner strands of paracord can be separated and used individually as fishing line, sewing thread, or fine cordage for detailed work. A single length of paracord contains 7 inner strands, each useful on its own. This makes paracord one of the highest utility per ounce items in any emergency kit. Store at least 100 feet in your home kit and 50 feet in each vehicle kit. Pre-cut a few 10-foot lengths and keep them accessible for quick tasks so you don't have to cut from your main supply for minor uses. Like, comment, subscribe. We're in the home stretch. 26. N95 masks or respirators. Airborne hazards during emergencies are more common than people realize. Wildfire smoke, structural fire soot, dust from collapsed buildings, mold spores after flooding, volcanic ash, chemical releases from industrial accidents, and even aerosolized sewage from floodwaters. All of these can damage your lungs and cause serious respiratory illness. N95 masks filter out 95% of airborne particulate matter when worn correctly. They're the minimum standard for respiratory protection during environmental emergencies. Keep a box of individually sealed N95 masks in your emergency kit, at least 5 per household member. Sealed packaging keeps them clean and ready for immediate use. Proper fit matters. An N95 that doesn't seal against your face provides minimal protection because contaminated air bypasses the filter material and enters through the gaps. Learn how to perform a seal check. Place the mask, exhale sharply, and feel for air leaking around the edges. Adjust the nose clip and straps until the seal is snug. For more severe air quality situations, prolonged wildfire smoke exposure or chemical spills, a half-face respirator with P100 filters provides a higher level of protection. These are reusable, and replacement filters are inexpensive. It's a step up from disposable N95s and worth the investment if you live in a wildfire-prone area or near industrial facilities. Don't forget masks for children. Standard adult N95s don't fit kids' faces properly, leaving gaps that defeat the purpose. Child-sized N95s or KN95s exist and should be stocked if you have young ones in the household. Verify the fit on your children before storing the masks. A mask that technically fits a generic child's face may not fit your child's face. A quick test now saves a potentially dangerous fitting attempt during a smoke-filled evacuation later. 27. Matches, lighters, and fire-starting tools. Fire is one of the foundational survival resources. It provides warmth, light, the ability to cook food, the ability to purify water by boiling, and a massive psychological comfort during dark, cold, frightening situations. Your ability to reliably start a fire under adverse conditions is a skill backed by having the right tools. Carry redundancy. A standard butane lighter is the easiest fire-starting tool and should be your primary option. Keep at least 3 in your emergency kit. Waterproof matches, not regular paper matches, which are useless when wet, are your secondary option. A ferrocerium rod, ferro rod, is your tertiary option. Ferro rods work when wet, in wind, at any altitude, and in any temperature. They produce a shower of sparks exceeding 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit and will start thousands of fires before wearing out. Store your lighters and matches in a waterproof container. A simple Ziploc bag works, but a dedicated waterproof match case is more durable. Keep a fire-starting tool in every emergency kit, every vehicle, and every evacuation bag. The ability to make fire should be available from multiple locations and should never depend on a single tool stored in a single place. Fire-starting tinder is worth stocking too. Cotton balls coated in petroleum jelly are the classic survival tinder. They ignite instantly, burn hot, and sustain a flame for several minutes. Pack a dozen in a small waterproof container. Dryer lint works similarly but is less consistent. Commercial fire-starting cubes or tabs are another reliable option. 28. Wrench and pliers for utility shutoffs. This is an item that gets overlooked constantly, and the consequences of that oversight can be catastrophic. After an earthquake, explosion, or severe structural damage, gas lines can rupture and water lines can break. A natural gas leak in your home is an immediate explosion and fire risk. A broken water main can flood your basement in hours. You need the ability to shut off your gas and water supplies quickly. Most residential gas meters use a quarter-turn valve that requires a wrench to operate. Most residential water shutoffs are either gate valves, turned by hand, or require a meter key. Know where these shutoffs are located on your property right now. Not during the emergency, right now. Go outside, identify them, and practice operating them. Keep a dedicated crescent wrench or gas shutoff wrench attached to your gas meter or stored within arm's reach of it. Don't rely on finding a wrench in your toolbox during a chaotic, potentially dark, potentially smoky situation. A clearly labeled wrench, zip-tied to the gas meter pipe, takes 5 minutes to set up and eliminates all searching during a crisis. Same principle for water. Know where your main water shutoff is, confirm it operates smoothly, and keep the appropriate tool nearby if one is needed. A stuck or corroded shutoff valve is something you want to discover and fix on a calm Tuesday afternoon, not during a pipe-bursting emergency at midnight. Label everything. Use bright, weatherproof tags or spray paint to clearly mark the locations of your gas shutoff, water shutoff, and electrical panel. In the chaos and reduced visibility of an emergency, fumbling around your foundation looking for a valve handle you vaguely remember seeing once during a home inspection is a waste of critical minutes. Clear labeling eliminates guesswork. Walk every member of your household through these locations and demonstrate the shutoff procedures. If you're incapacitated during the emergency, someone else in the family needs to know how to cut the gas before a spark turns a leak into an explosion. This knowledge isn't optional. It's as essential as any physical item on this list. 29. Pet supplies. If you have animals, their survival needs to be woven into your emergency plan with the same seriousness as your own. Pets can't prepare for themselves, and emergency shelters often don't accept animals, which means your planning has to account for their food, water, medication, containment, and comfort independently. Stock at least a 2-week supply of your pet's regular food, stored in an airtight, waterproof container. Sudden dietary changes cause digestive problems in most animals, and digestive problems in a stressful, resource-limited environment are a miserable complication for everyone involved. Keep their food consistent. Water requirements apply to pets too. Add their daily water intake to your per-person calculations. A medium-sized dog needs roughly 1 ounce of water per pound of body weight per day, so a 50-pound dog needs about 50 ounces daily, nearly half a gallon. Medications, vaccination records, microchip information, and a current photo of your pet should be included in your essential documents. If you're evacuated and separated from your animal, these records are critical for reunification and for proving ownership. Pack a leash, a harness, a carrier or crate appropriate to your animal's size, waste bags, a familiar blanket or toy, and an extra set of food and water bowls. The carrier or crate isn't optional. During an evacuation, a panicked animal in an uncontained vehicle is a serious safety hazard for everyone. Crate train your pets before an emergency so that the carrier is a familiar, safe space rather than an additional stressor. Like, comment, and subscribe. One more to go. 30. Knowledge and physical reference materials. The final item on this list isn't a physical object you buy from a store. Or rather, it is, but it's different from everything else. It's information, books, printed guides, actual knowledge stored in your brain and on your shelf, not on a server somewhere that you can't access when the internet goes down. Buy a comprehensive first aid manual and keep it in your emergency kit. Buy a basic wilderness survival guide. Buy a field guide to edible and medicinal plants in your region. Buy a book on home repair basics. Print out relevant FEMA guides for the disasters most likely to affect your area. Hurricanes, earthquakes, floods, tornadoes, wildfires, winter storms. These references fill the gaps in your knowledge exactly when those gaps become dangerous. You might think you know how to treat a burn, set a splint, or purify water, but under stress, with no internet access, your memory becomes unreliable. A printed reference book doesn't forget, doesn't lose charge, and doesn't need a cell signal. Beyond physical books, invest in actual skill development. Take a first aid and CPR course. Learn how to use a fire extinguisher properly. Practice changing a tire. Learn to read a topographical map with a compass. These skills, once genuinely learned, live in your muscle memory and neural pathways permanently. No disaster can take them from you. Teach your family members too. Emergency preparedness isn't a solo activity. It's a household project. Every person in your home old enough to understand should know where the emergency supplies are, how the shutoff valves work, what the evacuation plan is, and who to call. A family where only one person has the knowledge is a family that falls apart the moment that one person is unavailable. Consider community resources too. Local community colleges, fire departments, and Red Cross chapters offer free or low-cost classes on emergency preparedness, first aid, CPR, and disaster response. Many CERT, Community Emergency Response Team programs, train civilians to assist in their neighborhoods during large-scale events. These courses build skills, but they also build relationships with neighbors and local first responders, connections that become invaluable when a crisis hits, and community cooperation determines survival. One often missed resource is knowing your neighbors. Introduce yourself to the people on your street if you haven't already. During a disaster, your neighbors are your first line of mutual aid. The retired nurse 3 doors down might save your child's life. The mechanic across the street might get your car running when yours won't start. The couple with the generator might share power so your insulin stays cold. Community resilience starts with knowing who lives around you and what capabilities exist on your own block. This costs nothing but a few conversations and might be the most valuable preparation on this entire list. Putting it all together, you now have 30 items. Some cost a few dollars. Some cost a few hundred. None of them cost as much as being unprepared when disaster strikes. The financial, physical, and emotional toll of being caught without supplies dwarfs the cost of building a comprehensive emergency kit over time. You don't need to buy everything at once. Start with the top 10. Add a few items each paycheck. Within 3 months, you'll have a kit that puts you ahead of 90% of the population. Within 6 months, you'll be genuinely prepared for the most common emergency scenarios in your region. Store your supplies in a central, accessible location that every family member knows about. Use waterproof, fireproof containers wherever possible. Inspect, rotate, and refresh your supplies every 6 months using a checklist. Treat your emergency kit like a living system that needs periodic maintenance, not a set-it-and-forget-it box in the garage. Run a family drill at least once a year. Practice your evacuation route. Practice shutting off utilities. Practice assembling your grab-and-go bags in under 10 minutes. The time to figure out your plan is not when the sirens are already blaring. Every year, millions of people across the globe are caught off guard by events they knew were possible, but didn't prepare for. Hurricanes hitting hurricane-prone coastlines. Earthquakes striking fault lines. Winter storms slamming regions that get winter storms every single year. The events aren't surprising. The lack of preparation is. The truth is, most people don't prepare because preparation requires admitting vulnerability. It requires acknowledging that the systems you depend on, electricity, running water, grocery stores, hospitals, communication networks, can fail. That acknowledgement is uncomfortable, but discomfort now is infinitely preferable to desperation later. Disasters don't care about your schedule, your bank account, or your intentions. They come when they come. The only question is whether you'll be ready. These 30 items, purchased thoughtfully, stored properly, and maintained regularly, are your answer. Start today, not tomorrow, not next weekend, not when you get around to it. Today, buy a case of water and a box of batteries on your way home. That's step 1. Step 2 comes next week. Step 3, the week after. Momentum builds, and before you know it, you have a kit that could sustain your family through the worst week of your lives. And that kit exists because you made the decision to start. One last time, if this helped you, like, comment, and subscribe. Share this with someone who needs to see it. Preparedness isn't paranoia, it's responsibility.